Hi, this is Gayle from BERNINA of Naperville, and look at my cute little monogrammed bag. So this monogram is totally easy to do, and as long as you have a BERNINA 500, 590, 700, 790 plus, or 880 plus, you can do it right in your hoop without any software necessary. So this demonstration is really all about how to use your BERNINA operating system as you're getting ready to stitch out the design on the machine. So I'm going to take you through this project using the simulator on the BERNINA 590, but this, like I said, is good for a lot of you out there that have some of these high-tech features on the BERNINAs. So let's get started. So as you can see here, I'm working in my BERNINA 590 simulator, but like I mentioned in the intro, you could also be using the BERNINA 500 embroidery only machine. We could be using the BERNINA 790 plus, the 880 plus, or even the BERNINA 700 embroidery only machine. So I just wanted to make a simple monogram because a lot of you have been asking about how can I do a monogram right in my machine, because the machine does have fonts preloaded, which is pretty cool. So I'm just going to open up this little guy here. That's our font folder. And once again, if you attach your embroidery module to your machine before you turn it on, you're going to get this screen here where you have the choice of your fonts, the preloaded designs, and then depending on the model of your machine, your decorative stitches that you can access here, and then the heart represents your favorite stitches. So I'm just going to go to the fonts because that's all we're going to be working on today. I also simply want to do a monogram, and this purse I made for my future mother-in-law, and her initials are FMD. And what I'm going to do here is just go in and just put those initials right into the machine, all in uppercase. And I'm just typing it out, and then I'm going to press the green check mark, and there are the fonts. Now, you can see here, as I move these little guys around, they're all grouped together and they're stuck together, and I can't really do much with them individually like this. Don't worry, we have a tool that we can use. So we're going to press this little I button right here. And that I button kind of accesses a bunch of different tools here down the side of our machine. This is kind of our editing buttons. And this little cross here moves the design around. It'll either allow you to touch the design and move it around using your finger on the touch screen, or it will also activate your multifunction knobs, and the horizontal moving it around horizontally is done with the stitch width knob, and moving it vertically in the hoop is done with the stitch length knob. There's also rotate, there's enlarge and reduce, and when you enlarge and reduce something, which we will do in just a moment, you can do it proportionately or disproportionately. I've used this in some videos before. This is pinpoint placement. We're not going to use that today, so we don't need to pay attention to that. And we're not going to use our mirror tools, nor are we going to use our border design, connecting borders design, or the copy. We may use delete. We'll see how it goes with this tutorial. But we are going to use this tool right here. This icon, which is kind of represented by little blocks and then a plus, is group and ungroup. And if you're ever unsure of what an actual tool does, you can just hit the little help question mark button right there and touch the actual thing that you want to find out about. So this is group embroidery motifs. So we can, embroidery motifs can be added to a group or removed from a group, and the grouped embroidery motifs can be edited like one single embroidery motif. So you're going to see how easy this is to kind of monkey with things, shall we say. So I'm going to go ahead and touch that. And first of all, you see how FMD, all of those are black? Well, that means that they're active. So as I press this button, I have just ungrouped F, M, and D, and I can tell because layers appear right here,
and then the F is dark, and that's the one that's selected. If I press 2, the M is selected. See how that one's turned black? And then that one is D. So now, as I go around and play with this, all I have to do is just make sure that the one that I'm moving, enlarging, or whatever is the dark one. And indeed it is. So now that I've gotten this broken apart or ungrouped, I'm going to go over and play with some of these other icons. And I'm going to start with using my enlarge and reduce button. And what I want to do first is just make sure that I have the D selected before I enlarge or reduce it. And I don't want to make it tall and skinny or short and fat. I simply want to make it larger. And I'm just, now if I were over on my actual machine, I would be turning my stitch width knob clockwise to enlarge this letter. Let's just go for 150% larger. I'm going to move that back down there. And now all I'm going to do is kind of see how if I superimpose these letters on top, how that looks. And of course, I really think that my D needs to be even larger. So I'm going to go maybe to 175%. Okay, now this is more to my liking. So I'm going to do the M here and the F, and I'm going to kind of get these lined up how I like them. And I'm going to move them out of my hoop so I can see what's really going on here. And remember how I told you that you can actually group pieces together again? So let's go over to our I button, and I'm going to touch the F. Then I'm going to scroll down here and hit my, now this plus sign is active because I have things that I can group together. So I'm going to press this button, and now that's added the next one in the sequence, which is the M. And now these two are grouped together. And now as I move these around, I can move both around together. And that is what I want to choose. And then another reason why I wanted to group those together is I want to make these just a little bit smaller so that my D shows up a little bit more. And I'm just going to go for about 80% on the size with this one. And now I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to decide, you know what, do I want those to be spaced apart a little bit more? So maybe I can go back to my group icon and ungroup them again. I stuck them together once, now I want to unstick them. So I'm selecting the F, and I'm just going to tweak that over to the left, and I'm going to select the M. And sometimes it's hard to select just the one you're looking for. So you can either select it over here by touching the screen, or you can select it here in this layers. So I'm going to select the M, and now I'm moving this over. So now these guys are just barely touching. They're not touching each other, but they're kind of overlapping on my D. And if I want to see the shape of this, I'm going to scroll down to pick everything. All right, I like it. Now I do want to do something that's going to give a little bit more depth to this. So now I'm going to close out of here, and I'm going to go to my colors. So what this is going to do when I select that color button or my thread palette, I am able to hit this little recycle button and change my color if I want. And I want to go for just a gray color. I might play around with the color when I actually go to stitch it, but what I want is just something that is going to draw contrast between the FM and then the D. So I'm just going to pick my like steel gray color that I use a lot, or a smoke gray, and I just changed the F, and now I'm going to do the same thing to change the M. And so once again, I'm picking thread color 131. And now you can actually scroll down through here to see what different colors look like in this little preview screen, but I'm pretty happy with the changes that I've made. So now I'm going to go over here and look and see how these are going to stitch out. So there's one more thing that I would like to change a little bit, and that's the order of how this is going to stitch out. So right now, F stitches out, then M stitches out, then D stitches out last. But I'm not sure I like the fact that the D is covering the F and M. I actually want the F and M to stitch last. So the way that we can do this is we can go back to our group tool, and I'm going to select F. And now let's group F and M together. And then let's go back to a new tool. This one is rearrange or change the layers. So I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to make sure that I have my F and M selected, and now I'm just going to move it so that it is above D. So when I go down to the bottom here, now if I zoom in, we can see that the F and the M is going to stitch over D. And now let's just zoom out so we're back to our normal screen, and I really like that. I'm very happy with this. And then finally, when I stitch this out, I want to have some kind of idea of how big this is going to be, because I want to put this on that little clutch, and I don't want it to be overpowering or whatever. So I want to kind of keep this into the realm of maybe a 3-inch by 3-inch-ish kind of design. And you know, hey, these machines come by default with millimeters. So what I'm going to do is just go over and change my settings on my machine so that I can actually see the inch marks here. So I'm going to do that simply by hitting my home button and my gears. And then when I hit the hoop, that takes me to the embroidery settings. And now I'm going to hit this little tape measure, and that's where I have a choice of millimeters versus inches. And so now I'm going to select that, close, go back to my embroidery, I select my entire design, that it's going to be about 3 inches by 1.7 inches. Well, that's way smaller than I want it to be. So now that I have everything selected, for a final time, I can go back up here and I can enlarge my letters. And I, once again, remember, I'm going to try to go for maybe something 3 inches tall. I'm happy with that. And then finally, I might just want to center my design in the hoop like this, and then mark my bag and stitch it out and be done with it. So that requires me clicking this little button and then hitting our stitch button here. And don't forget, when you embroider, your machine is going to want you to tell it that you have a number 26 foot on and that you have the straight stitch needle plate on. And then you'll go ahead and stitch it out. You remove the hoop if the hoop is on. Okay, now we're ready to stitch. And this is going to be kind of fun to do because once again, it's going to stitch D, then it's going to do F and M. And one last thing that you might want to select when you do this is our color sequence, which is the red, yellow, red button like that. So now it's going to stitch D, then it's going to stitch F and M together, just like that. And all we have to do now is just press our start button and it will start to stitch.
Did you like that? Are you going to try embroidering that on something? You know, you can embroider all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be a bag, but I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, hey, Gayle, what is that super cute pattern that you were using? Well, we carry it here. It is the Sally Tomato Carry Along, and now their version is done in cork. And of course, we have made a cork version, and look at that. We use the little lemurs from the Tula Pink line work collection. And then we also have another version. This is an OESD design for the holidays, but we are actually doing this as an in-person class here at the store. And you don't even need to bring your embroidery machine. You don't even need to have embroidery, because this class is going to be for you to try it to see if you'd like it. So just check the details of this video for the class link. And also you might want to subscribe to our Bernina of Naperville newsletter. It's available on our website, berninaofnaperville.com. So the class is just going to cover doing a simple, easy, you pick a design and you just stitch it out, and then you're going to make it into a bag. And so we think you're going to have a lot of fun doing it because we had a lot of fun making it. But in the meantime, if you want to see more tutorials just like this one, don't forget to check out our Bernina of Naperville YouTube channel. It's easy. It's youtube.com/Bernina of Naperville, and there you can like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to stay tuned for more tips, because we have a lot of other little quick tip videos like this headed your way in the future.